be held November 3rd, 2015.
Madam Chairman, presented you in your packet, you have a timeline developed by King and Spalding and Robert W. Baird and Company, and Raymond James and Company. And these are the absolute latest dates that the Board of Commissioners has to accomplish those tasks on that calendar in order to meet the deadline for publication and have the election on November the 3rd. As you know, we had the election last year. One of the major requirements is meeting with the cities, getting input from the cities on what they would like to be considered. I guess the first thing to be considered is how long of a SPLOST do we want? I assume we want a 6-year SPLOST, and a 6-year SPLOST requires an intergovernmental agreement between all the cities and the counties. That is what we had done in November of last year, and had estimated a $50 million collection rate. Still analyzing what the state has done on transportation funding and how that's going to affect our SPLOST as well. So don't really have a good feel yet for how it's going to adjust our revenues. If any, Commissioner Hallbaker, Commissioner Ray, anybody has any feelings on how House Bill 170 or the cleanup measure is going to affect SPLOST, I'd love to hear you, but since they just ended last week, I don't think anyone knows exactly how it's going to affect us. The major things are that staff has recommended and recommended in the past were transportation and debt service reduction. As you know, we added several projects to the SPLOST. Also in your packet, I have included the precinct breakdown of all of the election results from the 2014 SPLOST as well. So, I guess we need to decide, do you want to go for a 6-year SPLOST? And then B, if you do, what projects do you want considered? And then C, when do you want to meet with the cities so we can work up the meeting with the cities and get something back to you and work with bond counsel and our underwriters and see what we can do. Once you get to that point, then you'll decide whether or not you'll issue bonds or if everything will be a pay-as-you-go project. So, lots of small questions to answer this morning to get into the big picture.
William?
Yes, sir.
Don't we have to, wasn't it recommended we meet with them in May?
That's my recommendation. We talked about it during the county manager's comment at the last agenda, and we have some suggested dates. Yes, sir.
I just think, I mean, I don't have a problem with going ahead with May. We just need to make up my mind what cities, what projects we want to put on that.
Yes, sir. We need to come up with
we
our
need to come up with
projects
that
before that meeting.
And right, and you know, there's some of those things on that 2014 SPLOST that we definitely need to, I think, keep on that. The CAD, you know, to me, the CAD, the cycle lights, animal control. I voted against the thing about getting the bonds for the county to pay off the debt. I frankly don't have a problem if we'll take that money we're getting that and give the taxpayers a credit.
Yes, sir.
We cannot take, I think the way I read some of these emails, we cannot put on the splash and put it for property taxes. We've got to wean it out. We cannot.
Correct, but you can pay off existing bonded indebtedness. And we have indebtedness for the correctional institution, for the Cook Shopping Center, and for the L.B. Norton Fire Station. So we could take those three, those are long-term debt. The other is lease purchase debt, 3 to 5 years on machinery and equipment. We could do that too, but I think to do what you want to do and to roll back taxes fairly, it would be to take the long-term debt that we signed up for 20 years on those projects and pay that off and issue bonds to pay it off so the next year we could roll back taxes and reduce the debt service.
And let that go back earmarked definitely for taxpayers to get a credit on their tax bills.
Yes, sir, that,
And there was one other thing too, seeing that we're going, seeing that we, once I get through it, I'll be through, so you don't have to worry.
I thought you were scrolling.
Now, the other thing was that seeing that we are going to come up with a debt on the walking trail and the sheriff's hangar,
yes, sir.
would be take some of this money and that would be used as a credit towards our taxes too, tax for property tax payers.
I
Once
understand
once
what
the
you're
FAA
saying.
sits down and tells us what those pieces of property, because you can buy property with the SPLOST money.
Yes, sir.
And that would take those two debts off of the county right there. It's gonna eventually be there.
Yes, sir. Right now, those are operating expenditures, really not capital, because we're leasing that property. So, yes, sir, if we did buy it, but I don't think we're gonna have a value in time to put it on the SPLOST for those two projects. I think it's the surveying, the valuation, everything is gonna take 3 to 6 months. So, that may not be something that we can do, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Well, I mean, it's something that, we know we're gonna have debt, we're paying $90-something thousand to get just for the walking trail, man.
Yes, sir.
And $30-some odd thousand for the airport tank, for the sheriff's airport tank. Is pay those off and use that money that we pay off to come back and give property. We're gonna have to do something, in my opinion, to make the property owners come out and vote. And if we don't give them something, I can tell you right now, you're gonna end up just like school board, you may end up with another fee on it. People have talked to me, if they don't get something out of it, it's not gonna cost the taxpayers money to operate it, they're not interested in it. I'm through.
Commissioner, Ray?
I agree with Mark. Everything he said is very valid. I think if we go to the airport authority and we ask them to hurry or hasten their survey and their appraisal process, that we might be able to put this into the SPLOST and pay for it earlier. I think that would be motivation because the airport authority needs that fund, needs those funds. So I can talk to Dick, or you can, William, it's up to you.
Okay, no problem.
I think Commissioner Ray has just answered the question, but if we do the debt services, when will we know about how much we're going to win back on them? Right? When will we be able to determine, like what percentage?
Well, we can figure those individually for you, and I'll have it. I'll get with Jenna this morning and have it for you tonight about how much that would be. As far as the airport track and the sheriff's, that's roughly $125,000 a year right there. So if we could get those ahead of time as well. So, but we've got, and now the debt service for the fire station would only be in unincorporated Spalding County. It's not in the general fund. But everything else, the correctional institution and the Cook Shopping Center is in the general fund. Now, do you want to look at paying off any other debt? We lease cars every year and things like that. That's on a cycle. The only hesitation there is you would pay it off now, and then next year I would have to add more debt, because what we do now, and for example, the Sheriff's Department Patrol Division, we have roughly $350,000 set up every year that comes off because we've been leasing cars for so long. We get 10 this year, 10, 10. So this year, debt service runs off for the cars that are 3 years old. We put the new cars on. Next year, the debt service runs off so that the debt service remains flat for all those budget years. What if you if you paid it off for 1 year, then it's going to have to be put back on the next year. So you wouldn't want to roll back taxes for a year, then roll them back up. That doesn't make sense. That's why I was only proposing the long-term debt for the buildings and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Based on the discussion with the city's broadband network backbone for the county, we have looked at and talked about the old hardware, software that we've got within the county? Are we moving toward getting a number on that?
Yes, sir, we are.
Because that might be something we would like to consider for this. So much, so much money per year over so
And
many
as you
years.
recall, we did have that, some funds recommended for that last time.
Yeah, we did, but it just, since we're talking the backbone, we're talking the need, it's just something else, might be another consideration we want to look at.
That's the fiber optics, is that what you're talking
With
about?
the computers that we have, the, hardware that we have on the computers and software, it's been identified that it's old. We had talked about a replacement program, this would help get us that replacement program.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the fiber?
Doesn't have anything to do with the fiber optics, it's just updating hardware and software that we have. So that if we do, when we do connect, we can connect.
Anything else I can go in?
Wayne, what is the, as precise as you can tell us, the amount of long-term debt that we've got that could be paid off with this SPLOST?
Probably around $2.5 million.
And that would relieve us of the county of about how many thousands of dollars of interest free?
Is Ms. Garrison in here? I don't see her. Hold on, let me go to my budget file that's right out here and I'll get it.
Commissioner Johnson, one of the things that Mr. Ray was talking about earlier was that,
CI. Oxford Square, which is the Cook Shopping Center, we own $835,000. The Dundee Lake Park paid for itself, so we're out of debt service on that. The LB Norton Fire Station, we owe $663,000. We also talked about paying off the fire trucks.
Yeah.
I thought they got paid off.
No, sir. We owe, we bought one last year, remember, in 2014, and then we bought the others in 2009, and they were 10 years out, so we still owe $668,000 on those. The total for the fire district alone is $1,364,000. The annual debt service is about $500,000.
Of all that, not just on the fire.
That's just fire district. Yes, sir. That's just fire
Debt
district.
service at 500,000 on 1.364 million?
What's your- 1.364, yes, sir, because, what other number did you throw at me?
You said 1.364 million for fire district alone.
Correct, 1.364.
And you said then $500,000 of interest on
No,
the
sir.
fire district alone?
No, sir, I said, the debt service, principal and interest
Yeah.
per year. Per year is
Okay.
$500,000.
Okay, all right.
Not just interest, principal
All right.
and
Okay.
interest.
Now, how much would that bring down property taxes if you did all of them together?
Okay.
Well, it's about 1.4 per mil, isn't it?
Fire district's a little bit different. Hold on just a minute. You go get Jim to answer.
Fire district is 4.17 mil.
I can tell you that.
Last time I did something in my head, I messed up and
They ain't worried about our cash.
gave us the wrong information, so that
Way
did not
someplace
help
else.
me. And
So
so
don't even
I don't
consider
want to do that
They
this
want
time.
to see the real life from it.
That makes sense.
Okay, so,
Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I mean, the 2014 SPLOST list had a retirement of 3.4 million in debt, which should have freed up about 600,000. And that's exactly what we need to do. Like, we just go, if we're still around the 3.4 level, to retire all that debt and free up, free up that debt service.
I think he's gonna let us figure out what this means for the taxpayer, so.
Yeah, I'm fixing to calculate.
All right.
Make sure y'all get this and put it in the paper that they will get a tax credit according to William. If it's wrong, I want to come back on William.
That's why I went and got the ad.
Yeah, we just gonna do this number, there's a 5 of them right there.
That's what I'm gonna do. All right.
So William said the millage rate will be 0.00, is that what I heard?
Not Mr. Wilson.
As the old saying goes, we're responsible for what we say, not what you hear.
Hey, y'all scheduled this for 9 o'clock on a Monday. Do you want me to be functional?
William generously in mind if you need any help.
Jenna, how much is 1 mil of tax in the fire district?
Not sure.
Moving right along.
Thank you, Bart.
When we go back to Sheriff's Day map, won't to, I mean, we just work our way back that way.
All right, y'all keep talking about that. Talk about, I hate to bring it up, but talk about things you don't think should be on the SPLOST while I go calculate this for
Well,
you.
we hadn't mentioned that we already have.
Well, technically, you haven't mentioned it, but it needs to be out there.
As I recall, the process last year, started with a survey, allowing citizens to participate, and results were dismal.
Percentage, yeah,
At
yeah.
400 people out of, what, a county of 64,000 residents input. I mean, that's all, seems to
And
me
that
like
could be
that
majority.
that ran for like 3 or 4 weeks and may have contributed to, a delay in basically moving the process forward. I'm all in favor of surveys and getting public input in that form or fashion, but we can't let that delay the overall process if we're only going to get, such a fractional percent of response and input. So, and maybe we have some public hearings for people who want to advocate, projects, that kind of thing. But,
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that survey, the folks actually voted for that, I want to say, probably the folks that were here, like, your animal control people, your
Yeah.
soccer people.
Yeah.
That were very big advocates, of those, items.
So we'll get that, we'll likely get that input in those formats.
I just come out and say it, probably gonna make somebody mad when I do, but I think the swim center needs to be left off of it. We need to take that. It's not that I'm against it, but it's not gonna pay for itself. If you can't get something to pay for itself, the taxpayer's not interested in it.
That's right.
There's no way the swimming pool will ever pay for itself, I can tell you that, man.
I completely agree, and as one of the people who, spent a lot of time trying to advocate for the SPLOST in November, that swim center was the lightning rod. That was an easy target, and even I had to hold my nose to vote for the whole SPLOST because the likelihood that we couldn't pay for the ongoing maintenance and
Well,
operation.
the maintenance and operation is the biggest thing about
And, that's, look at the issue now with the collection centers. I mean, that money was built, that little center was built with SPLOST money, but now this ongoing maintenance and operation has gotten us, to this point where we have to make some hard decisions and ask people to make some hard decisions. So, I mean, that's a whole, but it's just an example of why we have to be very careful about the SPLOST projects are low maintenance and operation in the future.
And with that would free up $3.8 million that we could apply toward other things. I mean, we heard from the library during the last SPLOST, there were some other priorities that came up from the last SPLOST that we didn't address because we'd already made that decision. And we've heard from the sheriff and the sheriff's department on the gang task force. This would be a great way to go ahead and equip that task force with, sorry, I got distracted. With vehicles and equipment that they need. it can't go for operations and salaries, but it can help buy equipment. And we're also talking about the, you know, the hardware, software for the,
You know, if you're looking at a long-term debt that's gonna be there, you know, and if we can free that up, because you're gonna have that $400,000 that you go on that debt service, you're also gonna have what it's gonna cost to operate that airport that you're gonna have to come up with too. So, you know, you don't know what, you know, what the operating expenses are gonna be. Looking at long-term, you know,
yeah, and it's good, we're thinking that way because we should be. But William,
It's a $500,000 in the fire district.
Okay.
We're currently at 4.17. And in the general fund, if we paid, like I said, Oxford Square, CI, and then the stuff that we bought for the senior center, I think that's what we had proposed last time. Yeah, it's right at $600,000 worth of debt service there. It's a little bit over 550.
I thought that was $2.5 million. The CI and the Cooks.
Yes, and what, I was talking about the annual debt service, the amount that we take out of taxes every year.
Yeah.
And it's roughly 0.4 mil, so 0.4 mils. And we're at 16.010 currently.
all right, William, changing gears.
Okay,
Grab your pen.
You got the
I'm ready.
Yeah, we need to check on the legal ease of whether we can pay the debt, the service debt off on the airport that we agreed to with the city, with the SPLOST. We're buying property for the airport authority, but I'm not sure how the SPLOST laws will read that legalese.
Gotcha.
And very good idea Bob brought up, if we could go ahead and pay that off with the city, then we've got that taken care, that $3 million taken care of.
Can't do it.
What's the likeliness of that, do you think?
Don't think so, but because it's not like this debt service that you're, I don't know.
It's the legalese, what.
Yeah,
SPLOST said
King
we
and
can deal
Spalding.
with the law.
I'll see if I can get with King and Spalding and get you an answer by tonight. I'm not gonna
It ain't gotta
guarantee.
be, I mean, it's just something, I mean, you're liquidating roughly, you just about got a meal here between the fire districts and the general fund debt.
Right, but now you need to make sure that people understand most of that comes out of the fire district, which is only unincorporated Spalding County.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Okay, I just want, when you start saying things like a mill tax, people expect it.
So it'd
Off the
be, it'd be
general
about a
fund.
meal of tax for the county taxpayer, it'd be about half a meal for the city.
0.4 mil for the city, yes.
That's what they give you in the city. Okay.
What else did y'all talk about while I was gone to get my numbers? Anything?
No, we brought that up about the long-term debt, you was talking about long-term debt, about the airport.
Yes.
You know, that is something I just like to check into, because you're looking at roughly $400,000 a year out of the 3 years it's gonna cost us. Plus, we're gonna have to have the operating expense for the airport.
Yes.
Who knows who that is?
So in order to do this debt service payoff, we have to issue bonds, so everybody's okay with issuing bonds?
If we're gonna go give it to the taxpayers, that's the only certainty, it's got to go into the taxpayers.
Well, that's and it would not happen on the tax bills that'll go out in November.
No, be
Because-
2017.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2016 tax bills, but
Well, it ain't gonna be voted on in November, tax bill's already be out by then.
I just wanted everybody to be aware of that.
Yeah, I think that if you sit down and tell folks this, at least you're trying to do something to help the property tax owners of Spalding County.
Yes, sir.
And that's,
I know that folks are hesitant maybe hesitant to believe that we're going to do that, but we could even adopt maybe a resolution stating that we intend to do this with the tax year 2016.
And can we use a stronger word than intend?
Well,
I don't know if that's gonna work or not.
I thought when you identified this stuff,
I don't know.
When you identify-
you're paying off debt service for that debt service, where it's saying it's got to go into the general fund to pay off fire districts and the general fund to
Yes.
pay off debt.
Well,
I thought that, now, if you identified it for that, it had to be used for that.
It does. Let me get with King and Spalding and get the resolution to state that specifically. But
We also discussed the pool while you were out, and it's going to be subject to some debate, but the majority right now does not feel the pool should be on the 2015 splash.
and what about the animal shelter?
Animal shelter, I think it's something probably we're gonna
Yeah, I
have to
think
do.
That's something like.
I agree.
I mean,
Everything that was on the 2014 splash minus the pool,
Okay.
and maybe a couple of smaller little things on there.
maybe we could take that 3 million for bridges and roads, if we was gonna dedicate
We're going
to
to take
that.
out roads and bridges.
Well, remember now,
No, not take out, add it to it.
they're going to be issuing bonds, so
Well, the other thing I want to see from anybody who's going to persuade us to put a project on that SPLOST list is how they're also going to get out the vote. Because that SPLOST committee was, it basically boiled down to about 5 people showing up and working. Everybody else who raised their hand said, I want to be on the committee. Rarely, if ever, even came to a meeting, much less did something as difficult as posting it to their Facebook page, asking their friends to get out and vote. I want to know that if these people are going to convince us to take a chance and jeopardize further road and bridge repairs and paving by putting their little pet project on there, they're going to need to persuade me that they're going to actively get out and get out the vote to pass this thing. And that just didn't happen last time. We failed by 75 votes out of nearly 17,000 cast.
And
And that would include the animal control people. They came down here waving all sorts of signs, making a big fuss and hullabaloo about getting on there. And Lord knows we need an improvement there. That's like getting the ball down to the 3-yard line and then just letting the clock run out. And they didn't get out, to my knowledge. Don't really push and inform our citizens about the facts so that people will be motivated to get out and make an informed choice. That's all I say.
So if I may add, Mr. Chair, or if I may summarize, according to what Bart had said earlier, and what we pretty much have talked about so far, we're looking at the acquisition and installation of the CAD and phone system for 911. We all agree?
Yeah.
The acquisition and installation of soccer lights at Wyoming College Park. We all agree? Now,
Yeah.
are we talking the $450,000 level or the $130-something thousand level?
400, I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it,
Do it right.
Let's do it right, and then we're through, I mean.
I just want to verify,
Yes.
that's all. Then acquisition and construction, equipping of a new animal control facility, and we want there, we pretty much talked between us, and the construction and equipment of the new swim team is going to be up to debate. Retirement and payment of outstanding indebtedness, acquisition of Memorial Drive Plaza, the Correctional Institute, LB Norton Fire Station, and fire apparatus, and then resurfacing, paving, and repair of roads, streets, and bridges. So, William?
Animal control still left at $1 million, is that what,
Well,
or have y'all talked about?
we haven't really talked about it.
We had, yeah.
And actually, you know, that $1 million was not going to, by itself, build that new facility. That group was talking about acquiring via grants or whatever, and fundraisers enough to make it more like a $1.8 million facility. That's what they determined with their estimates.
Right,
Was
we
required
don't
at a
have any,
minimum.
we don't have any professional estimates on that. We
Right.
do not have an architectural rendering, we don't have anything on that.
You know, we need, I would like to understand the full scope of what this group is going to do, if, you know, the county funds are gonna be used to upgrade and improve that shelter. I mean, is it gonna basically just expand and air condition and better equip the current shelter? Or are they talking about a brand new thing that this $1 million would be a nice contribution towards? I want to understand the full scope of that
Yes.
project.
And agreed, because we were talking, we allowed $1 million, but like like Don said, we're talking $1.8 million. We never talked, one group was saying new facility, the other group was saying current facility add-on.
Yeah.
So before, I would recommend the animal control ACAP come back in with whatever plans, make sure it's gonna fit on the property we have at the current location, and give us a price of what it's gonna cost to do what they want, and then we just adjust from there to facilitate our need.
Because I'm thinking also that facility they currently have out there, if you're going to try to add to it or redo it, I mean, that's pretty much an older building, though, right? I don't know if that's going to.
The additions were made in the 90s, is Terry here? I think, Jenna, do you remember the additions in the 90s when Mr. Ruffin was here, wasn't it?
It was before my time, so it would have been the early to mid-90s.
Because the building down there is solid.
Yeah.
We just need to add some other things that would make it more viable and more humane for the animals in there.
But also, what the operating expenses will be.
Yeah.
Building a building, what it's gonna cost to operate that thing every year. Because the taxpayers have got the fund
Yeah,
there.
that's
So you
right.
got to look at what it's gonna cost. You don't need to go build no gigantic Cosmo Hall down there with an electric bill that's gonna run you for $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
My understanding is that they were basically keying off of a,
Lynn County?
yeah, it was down in Savannah
Yeah.
or somewhere on the East Georgia. They were using that as sort of their template. But that was a very nice facility. Like, I think that one, if I'm not mistaken, was like a $4 to $5 million facility that they built. And it's very nice and very
And I don't-
desirable if you got the money, but.
Right,
Yeah.
and I don't think we need, that's the problem, I don't think we need to run into
Right.
that situation.
And then also, we could check into solar, where you're gonna start off with something, maybe what, some of that stuff could be run off of solar energy instead of having, you know, you're gonna construct something, I mean, I'm not saying it's something, but we need to look at ways to cut down on the expense of operating something.
But I think what the board is saying is we need a clear-cut project, we need the scope of the project, and we need the cost of this project in order for it to be included. And we said earlier that, what was the time frame we would have to have the projects identified by?
The calendar, I think you want to have our projects identified before you meet with the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was when?
Maybe.
My recommendation tonight is May, hold on, let me get to that agenda.
And also, while you're doing that, I know we're talking about maybe eliminating the swim center. I'm interested in knowing that we talked about the operating expenses on that. I can't remember what we figured that would be per year.
I think TJ can help us with that. It's probably between $850 and $1 million. But TJ, are you here?
Yes.
A year.
That was,
Yes.
that was,
Yes,
I think, if I remember correctly, it's more like between $500,000 and $750,000, not factoring in what you would recoup from user fees.
And does that include your operator?
Yes,
Because we had
because we
this,
scaled down if you remember, the proposals we did was scaled down, so you could easily, I think, use those numbers, between $500,000 and $750,000.
we didn't really, did we decide on what the membership fees or whatever were going to be?
No, ma'am.
I think we.
There was no decision about that, but that would be not including anything she would do to recoup the fees as far as daily fees, usage fees, memberships on an annual basis, and, bringing in income from the facility itself. There would be income derived from the facility, but those would be decisions you'd have to make as far as the cost per usage.
And we also never agreed on location, so that may hurt us as well. The dates proposed for the meetings with the city are May the 14th and May the 18th. Excuse me, May the 4th and May the 18th, I'm sorry. Those are both current county commission meeting days in May. And I was asking that you consider maybe a 9 a.m. or a 4 p.m. meeting on both those days.
Would
So,
that be with Orchard Hill and
yes, sir.
that'd be
Griffin and
every city
Orchard.
of Griffin, everybody?
Yes, sir, you have to meet with all municipalities.
I don't have a problem with 9 o'clock in the morning.
So we're looking at a project cutoff deadline to determine projects of mid-April, no later than mid-April.
Yes, sir,
It's like
like
next week.
next week.
Yes.
We ain't got a meeting the 16th, so we have to wait.
Well, right, I mean, we do not, but essentially y'all have given me most of our projects right here to come back and get you some numbers on, and
I
yes,
don't know
we-
about y'all, but I've been approached by other groups, that have some ideas. That just for what it's worth of the library, I guess they made a late pitch, late in the process last year. And I met with 2 library folks last week about, they'd like to ideally go from a 25,000 square foot to a 65,000 square foot facility with either build it brand new for 17 or 18 million, or upgrade an existing facility, which estimated would cost about 9 or 10 million. That's it.
They went all roads and bridges, so.
Yeah, no. I mean, there may be some other projects that, I've told anybody else who's approached me, you need to get a real solid plan together before I even, talk.
well, we could meet with the cities on May the 18th. Have May the 4th work session to finalize our projects. If y'all would like to do it that way.
When is it? When is ACCG?
It's an A.
April 17th through 20th.
Yeah, we'll see.
I just was thinking that was close to the dates, not the months. so-
They are.
April's dates work.
So work session May 4th to sort of finalize and then meet with the cities on 18th.
And I'm like.
And we'll vote on that tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna try, that'll be like a morning meeting,
Talk about what we've done in work session or something.
that you can be on.
That's right. We'll have to talk about that too,
All right.
about our work sessions. The future of our work sessions.
Do we want to accept projects from other groups that, Mr. Commissioner Hoffaker just brought that up at the library. Yes, they would like to have one, and if you, I want us to have, I would like for us to have a longer period of educating the voters this time than we did last time.
Absolutely.
You also need to think about volunteers to chair or co-chair this. We have historically accepted volunteers for this. If the Board of Commissioners appoints a SPLOST committee, that changes everything to open meetings, open records. And if you accept folks who want to volunteer for this, then you don't have, that's just another hoop they've got to jump with meetings and things like that. And so, y'all tell me.
Either way you go, I mean, I was on that SPLOST committee, and I think we did post, or the committee chair did put out notices of the meetings and.
Yeah, but I don't think you kept minutes or anything like that. and-
So none of that bothers me. If they need to do that, fine. The press can sit in, listen, and report all they want. I mean, I'll tell you from my standpoint, there wasn't anything that was.
No, there's nothing. It's just
Was,
it's just something who's not, people, volunteers who are not used to this kind of thing,
yeah,
they don't
yeah.
think about open meetings. They don't think about, oh, come over to my house tonight and let's talk about SPLOST.
Right.
You know,
That's true.
and a lot of work is done,
Yeah.
you know, hey, you show up at someplace to eat, all right, come on after us and we'll talk about
Yeah.
SPLOST. And you can't do that if you,
Yeah.
That's true.
Back to the question of accepting additional projects. Unless, my stance on that is unless we have identified it in the last two SPLOST, i.e. the library, possible inclusion of something with the library, or along those lines, I don't think we should. It's just going to distract and slow down the process. And we've got enough needs in Sparta County that we can't answer already. But that's just me.
That's a good point.
And the more you add to it, the more you're gonna cut down on other projects. So, I mean,
We're spread thin
we've
anyway.
got, that's putting a thin coating on it. And I mean, our roads and stuff, if we don't, we just will get ready to start getting some road scrapes out there and make dirt roads out of them, because they're in terrible shape. If this snow pass, that's what we're gonna end up doing. I mean, they're patching, and there's just nothing to patch there to do. What we talking about that, when are they gonna start resurfacing that?
we're about ready to bid that out so that we can accept bids on it.
So,
Working on it now.
I know you can put down the Moose Lodge Road, got more holes in it again. About like this on the side of the road, so I mean.
Which road is that, Bond?
No, Bond Road, we already got road scrapes out there, making dirt out of what we ain't gonna pave, if we ever get it paved. No, Moose Lodge Road, between Carver Road.
Yeah,
I mean, they patched that thing between,
yeah.
it's not Harvest Temple, it's, what's the name of the church?
It is, it's a, what used to be Harvest.
Center Point.
Yeah.
Centerpoint, that road, they have patched that road, and it's not public work, they just don't have anything to work with. I mean, it just keeps, every time you turn around, every 2 weeks, you got holes out there.
What else do you need?
Those are a lot of the questions that I had regarding this SPLOST.
So you're gonna mention this again tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. And I will go back now and work on the debt service and see exactly, check my numbers again. So those are preliminary numbers, news media, that I gave you. So I want to check them again over here and have some quantitative numbers tonight. And I'll go back and talk with King and Spalding about the debt service for the airport bonds that we were subject to, so, and see what we can do there.
So we're doing the May 4th work session to finalize everything, and then.
I had scheduled on May 4th, Madam Chairman, you might recall, we had talked about scheduling on the May 4th work session the
Housing.
minimum housing code and the tractor trailer park. Let me look at a calendar. We're just running out of time.
Move that back.
I think the SPLOST is
Yes.
a little more critical right now in some, I mean, everything's critical, we're just having to prioritize.
William,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you something?
Yes, sir.
Could we do the splice thing on the 27th of April? Everybody would be back in town. We don't have a meeting on that Monday. And then go ahead with the trailer thing. Because I've had a lot of people call me about that. And they talked to Chad about this trailer
Tractor trailers?
Yeah. I don't know whether any of y'all could,
That's on check.
I mean, it's just a date that you could look at, and that way we wouldn't get off track with the other thing on May the 4th.
Yes.
And it also give us another 2 weeks to,
Monday, April?
yeah.
Now, once again, we probably do need to confirm the time on that, you know, to see if it works.
Commissioner Ray, will we be back from, okay.
We will be.
I mean, we could do it in the evening, that way Gwen will probably be available, do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, we don't have a meeting that night anyway.
So do that instead of May the 4th to finalize, okay.
That would help.
Finalize our projects and everything, that'd give you,
Extra week.
You want to set a time to that?
Let's talk about it tonight. We talk about it tonight?
Afternoon?
Yeah.
well, let's see if Gwen will be here tonight. I mean, anytime after 4 o'clock, I think she would be out, gets off work. And I think she'd be,
Yeah, I think she works 7 to 3.
Yeah.
so I mean, you know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so we wouldn't be tired. But we'd also need, if we're gonna do that SPLOST thing, where people could do it at evening, maybe we need to say 6 o'clock, so people would have a chance if they were to come to see.
Well, now, are we gonna have a work session where the county commissioners decide, or are we going to have public input?
Well, it'd be a work session, but no.
I'm thinking we probably need to have we need to decide on.
Our work session, it's still
finalize that.
public, it's still a public meeting, they can still come.
They come, but
But they can't
we
talk.
don't accept
Right, they can't do that.
audience comments.
Comments.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about setting public hearings for the collection center
Yes.
issue. Do we combine those public hearings with,
Oh, goodness.
We can.
He said, oh goodness.
I mean,
Let's see
That's
what
an idea.
let's see what I said.
I know, it'll be a long public hearing.
I'm game if you want.
I'm just trying to get maximum.
As long as we furnish the donuts, we'll get ready to leave that morning.
Let's see what dates I said suggested for that.
Talked about, well, this coming Saturday is one of them.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be difficult for me.
Well, I mean, those are the suggestions. Commissioner, all right, I suggested Saturday, April the 11th at 10 o'clock. Now, Commissioner Miller wanted a Saturday public hearing. I suggested April the 14th at 6 o'clock PM, and April the 23rd, which is our zoning public hearing at 6, having it at 4 o'clock.
I won't be here the 23rd, but the 14th of the Saturday's fine.
The reason I said Saturday, because a lot of people may work, and they don't have a chance to get here, you get to Saturday morning, they'd have a chance to come in. If they don't show up, you gave them an opportunity. Yeah, that's my thing about it.
I agree.
Is do it at 6 o'clock, and anything in the morning, a lot of people work, so I mean, you gave them different times here that they could
So
come.
we would be saying Saturday, April 11th at 10 a.m.?
That's this
That's
Saturday.
this Saturday.
They gonna give us enough time to get the word out.
Oh, I'm sure.
So once again, these are things we probably have to talk about.
All we gotta do is put a note in the trash dump.
I mean, are those dates okay? Do y'all, now, what are you talking about? Having the refuse collection options public hearing and a SPLOST? What, I'm not sure what,
That, I mean, to me, we ought to try and get the most use out of that time, and if we're already setting it aside, I mean, for to receive public comments and thoughts about the collection centers, we ought to also provide it as an opportunity for SPLOST.
I don't think 4 o'clock in the afternoon starting a public hearing for those, for your
I
trash.
mean, we're just going to have to cut it off at some point.
well, yeah, 3 minutes. But what, do you want,
About people not being able to show up
At 4 o'clock.
at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You got a zoning meeting at 6 o'clock. I'd rather do it, zoning meetings probably don't last long, do it at 7 o'clock. And
Sure.
just,
Sure.
I mean, you gave time for people to get off work and get that.
Right.
If they don't show up, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a lot of people work.
Well, All I'm saying, I've got a flexible enough schedule, I can attend virtually any day, any time that we set it. However, I
You
just,
show up that night, would you?
I just would like to address both
Both
issues.
issues.
For the zoning?
The 23rd?
He can't make that one.
You can't make it 23rd.
I won't be here the 23rd.
That's why we're looking at that Saturday.
Well, I mean, I won't be here either, but I'll have Eric here. And I assume, dangerously, that all you're going to do is take public comment. You're not going to comment back. You're going to,
Right.
folks going to get up and say, I want an animal shelter, I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. Thank you. We will be making a final decision on our projects April 27th.
Chad, if the zoning meeting gonna be long on the 23rd, you have,
It should be.
I mean, will it be done in an hour? Most of the time we through with the zoning.
It should be,
It's kind of hard to say. You
What's
can't
the-
say-
what's the
it
issue?
depends on how much y'all want to kind of, talk and bounce questions off it. You're going to have 3 text amendments. All those should be disposed of pretty fast. And then there will be a application for a church on Teeman Road. That one might have some legs on it. Just depends on how many people show up. I'll have a better idea after this Thursday evening.
Board of Zoning Appeals here in the Teeman Church.
Yes, sir.
This
So
week.
that'll be this Thursday. So
It's already a church, isn't it?
I can,
No,
no, this
vacant
is,
land.
this is kind of not far from Pomona.
Right.
So,
Oh, that'll be a Friday.
it's, I'll know more Friday morning. Once I kind of get a gist like who all shows up Thursday evening. But then usually, these things kind of gain a little bit of steam from the first meeting to the second one. So I just don't know if, I haven't gotten any calls on it. The sign's been out there, so I don't think it's controversial. But you just never know. So, out of the 4 items, that would be the only one that potentially has some legs. So.
And I don't know if I really like to have the public hearing the night of the zoning meeting, to be honest with you. That's my preference. I think we just need to set, if it's going to do a public hearing, we need to have a date set for the public hearing.
Well, let's see.
That's my
Evening
opinion.
14th. Or did you say you wanted to do it?
We already got 14th to 6.
Okay.
14.
April
That's a
14th is
Tuesday.
six. That's a-
And you wanted to make that after 4 o'clock, I thought.
I think all of them
Okay,
need to be,
that's fine.
to me, and I don't have a problem, what about the 21st thing?
We'll just be
You
getting
can't,
back,
no, you ain't gonna be in time, you forget that, that's a bad week.
we're just getting back to from Savannah. I think, so I
I didn't
like the
understand.
14th in the evening.